Hello. I want to continue with these discussion I have been asked about by many people about various things that are happening in the modern world with newfangled sexual interests and changes and sex change operations and so on. And I've said that it takes more than our normal short lessons to encompass it, so we're having a series. This one I want to discuss Siroos. Siroos is normally translated as castration, but it's not. It's better to be translated perhaps as sterilization, although we'll see. So we have to start with the pasuk in Vayikra, Perek Chaf Beis, pasuk Chaf Dalet, chapter 22, verse 24. And the pasuk says, "Uma'uch v'kasus v'nasus v'charus lo sakrivu laHashem ובארצכם lo sasu." Crushed, mangled, removed, cut, you will not offer to God, and in your land you will not do it. This pasuk, like many pasukim, if you actually read the verse closely, it doesn't make any sense. So the first thing we always do when we're looking at the pasuk in Chumash, and it's difficult, is we look at what Rashi has to say. So Rashi says about these four terms of crushing, damaging, cutting, whatever. Bביצים or bגיד, it's talking about the testicles and the penis, that any damaging, so to speak, if the animal has been damaged in any of these ways, it cannot be offered as a sacrifice. And and then the second part of the pasuk is, in your land you're not allowed to do this. So on the second part of the pasuk, ובארצכם lo sasu, and in your land you will not do it. Davar zeh, this is lסרס shum בהמה וחיה, is to sterilize any animal or wild animal, ואפילו טמאה, even if it's not kosher. לכך נאמר בארצכם, that's why it says in your lands. לרבות כל אשר בארצכם, to include anything that can be found in your lands. אפשר לומר, because it is impossible to say, לא נצטוו על הסרוס אלא בארץ, that we are only told not to sterilize in the land, in Eretz Israel. שהרי סירוס חובת הגוף, because the action of sterilizing is something that you do with your body. וכל חובת הגוף נוהגת בין בארץ בין בחוצה לארץ. And any of these things that are an obligation of the body applies whether we're in Eretz Israel or if we're chutz laretz. So the Ibn Ezra says, ובארצכם lo sasu, and in your lands you will not do this, lishnot maseh Hashem, to change what God has created, meaning God created the world in a certain way, and we are supposed to appreciate the way that God created it and not try and change it. This is very similar, by the way, to the exact language that the Ibn Ezra used when he was talking about cross-dressing, that it was changing the way that God created the world. And we are supposed to be accepting of what God did when he created the world, not attempting to change it. So, in terms of a mitzvah, the Rambam in Sefer Mitzvahs, in the negative mitzvah, says, V'ha-mitzvah hashin samach aleph, and the 361st mitzvah, Shish yasarnu mahavsid klei hatashmish min zacharim. This is, we were warned not to damage the male genitalia. He says more, but it's all along the same line. And I want to look at the Sefer Chinuch for a simpler statement and explanation of this mitzvah. So the Sefer Chinuch says in Parshas Emor, mitzvah Reish Tzadi Aleph, mitzvah 291. Remember, the Rambam ordered the Sefer Mitzvos in terms of positive mitzvos and negative mitzvos. And he had rational reasons for ordering them the way he did. So, for instance, he starts with positive mitzvahs, and the first positive mitzvah is to believe in God. Because if you don't have that, then nothing else flows. And he builds it up in a certain way. And the same thing is true of negative mitzvahs. Sefer HaChinuch was written by Rabbeinu Aaron Halevi in Barcelona. There is another Rabbeinu Aaron Halevi from Barcelona who's not the same person, even though they were contemporaries of each other. And he wrote Chidushim on Shas. The Sefer HaChinuch, as I said, was written by a Rabbeinu Aaron Halevi in Barcelona, who wrote, this is the only thing we know that he wrote, and it was a bar mitzvah present for his son, and it goes through each parsha of the Torah with the mitzvahs that are in that parsha in the order that they appear. So the numbers of the mitzvahs, even though he comes to 613, just like the Rambam, in fact, he follows the Rambam's, he accepts what the Rambam says is a mitzvah. He doesn't accept the Ramban's objections to them, but he goes in a different order. So that's why the numbering is different. So he says, Shelo nisaris echad mikol haminim, that we are not allowed to sterilize any one of the species. Lo Adam, not man, velo behema, velo chaya, velo ov, not animal and not bird. Misharshe mitzvah, one of the things that he always does is he gives the sources of the mitzvah. Levi Hashem Baruch Hu bara olamo b'tachlis hashlemus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created his world in a complete way. Lo chaser v'lo yater bo davar mikol haroi liot lo lahash limuso. He did not add or subtract anything from what is necessary to make it complete. Vaya mirtzono ubirech balei chaim lios parimu ravim, and he blessed all of the animals and people that they should be fruitful and multiplying. V'gam tzivah hazacharim min hadam alzeh. He also commanded males of the human species to do this. Laman yamodu, so that they should stand. Shim lo ken, because if it would not be this way, ye min kala achar hamavet mechale behem. The species would cease to exist because people die. So if people didn't have children, the species would cease to exist. There was a religion, a Shaker religion, that was very similar to the Quaker religion. They were passives and so on, but they also did not believe in having any sexual relationships at all, and the religion died off. There are no Shakers left anymore. The Alken hamafsi klei mare, and therefore someone that destroys the reproductive organs, but kamoshu kates b'masei abore. It's as if he's showing that his soul finds disgusting that which the Creator did, the deeds of the Creator. And he wants to destroy the good world that God created. And what our rabbi said about someone who sterilizes the female, bein ba'adam, bein b'shar im potter, whether it is with man or with other species, he is exempt, at least exempt from lashes. The isha muteris lishtos kos ikrin, and a woman is allowed to drink a formula shemisarsin osa shalotele, that makes her sterile. And we'll see later on that this was an event that is mentioned in the Talmud about a specific woman. Shianashim ena mitzuvas al priya rivia, because women are not commanded on being fruitful and multiplying. V'noheges b'kol makom b'kol zman, and this halacha is relevant at all times with zacharim u'v'nikevos, to both men and women. Sha'asur gam lehem l'saris zacharim, because it's also prohibited for the women to sterilize men. So I said the Gemara records that it is possible to have a situation where a woman drinks a formula that sterilizes her. So the Gemara in Yevamos, in Daf Samach Hayam and Beis, tells the following story. Yehudis to Bisayhu to Rabbi Chia, Havile Tsar Leda, that Yehudis, the wife of Rabbi Chia, had great pains giving birth, much more than is normal. Shanai Mana, so she changed her clothing and disguised herself. Va'asa l'kamei to Rabbi Chia. She came before Rabbi Chia. She came before her husband. Amra, she said, Ita da mifkada apriya urivia, is a woman commanded in the mitzvah to be fruitful and multiply. Amar la lo. He said to her, no. Asla ashtia sama da akrata. She went and she drank this medicine that made her sterile. Lasof igle milsa. In the end, it came out, the whole story, to Rabbi Chia, that his wife had asked him this question and he had allowed her to drink something that would make her sterile. Amar la, he said to her, Iku yaladati chada kreisa achrita, if you had given birth to another pair, or another wombful. Apparently her children were twins. And he's saying, oh, I wish I had had another set of twins, something along that nature. So we see that the Torah obligation of sterilization does not apply to women as it does to men. Whether it's completely permitted or there's a limitation on it, we'll see as we go on. I want to stop now, and for the next shiur, I will examine the rest of, or not all of it, but some of the halachic literature, enough for us to get a clear picture about what the halacha is concerning sterilization. Everyone should have a wonderful day.